what's up, guys? This is Paintball Passport, your podcast for all the best travel stories from your favorite pro players. And I'm very excited to have a very cool, legendary guest with me. I've got to travel a little bit myself with this dude. So without further ado, Mikko Huttunen. Dude, what's good, brother?
Yo, what's going on? Nothing much. Just enjoying the springtime now here in Montana. So, and
Okay, so you live in Montana?
yeah.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, I guess before we get right into the travels, I want to catch up with you a little bit. Where exactly do you live there?
I live like a little bit south from Missoula, so I ended up moving here like a year and a half ago. So I was like 17, 18 years in San Diego before that.
Yeah, that's what I
And
thought.
I started to come visit up here, Paxson, and we did bunch of bow hunting, bunch of outdoor stuff, and then I don't know, I felt like it was the move, and I've
Hmm.
been super happy being up here.
Good for you, dude. I'm happy for you. If you're a nature person, which I know you're into all that.
Yeah.
It seems like Montana is like I'm not gonna say it's like unknown or the hidden gem, but it seems like it's that place where people there don't want others to find out about it. That way it stays like unpopulated and just, big open spaces.
Yeah, like there was just I guess for me there was just it was too many people in San Diego. Like it was too busy, and when you as you get older, you kind of start want to have that own space. You'll see it happen to you at one point, maybe, and also like I'm from Finland. I'm like from country. Like I love that stuff. So
Hmm.
that's where I'm originally from. So
That's cool.
so
Yeah,
it's
no, I
kind of like
totally get it. I'm not at that point in life quite yet. I feel like it's easy to see that like there's trends. Like if you're a teenager in your young 20s and you want to socialize, you should live in or near a city. You know,
100%.
but like I'm in my young 30s now, and now I don't want to live like way out in nowhere yet because I'm a social guy, but I also don't want to live in the city.
Yeah.
My ideal thing would be like 5-10 minutes outside of suburbia where I
Yeah, so
have
you
my
can like
own.
escape.
Yes,
That's perfect. Yeah.
a couple acres where you don't have to see another house or person around you if you don't want. But if you want to go like, tie on a few drinks with some friends, you're only 10-15 minutes from society.
100%, 100%. That's a good move. That's a good move.
Yeah. Well, I got to get out there and visit you guys soon. I figured you were living near him, and Paxton's invited me to come out and, big game hunt or fish plenty of times. But
Yeah.
I mean, you know how it is, dude. It's hard to get like time off
It is
already.
like you guys, for example, like even for me this year, like just the last couple of years being back in paintball, like there's not much time. It like every week there's something going on, and then
Yep.
then it's like well, when we just got over Vegas, like I was in Vegas for 2 weeks,
Hmm.
and now what is it, 4 weeks to the next event, so it's coming up quickly, and
It's
if you do something, any of those little ones between, travel somewhere, then it's like it just goes like this.
Yeah, that's 100% for sure. I get it,
Any
dude. I take 60 days off to be with Infamous. Like you go from when the layout comes out till the after the event Monday, and it's like holy crap. So really hard to ask for just like a normal vacation without bringing your paintball gear bag when you're already like, hey, company I work for, I need 5 like 2.5 week stretches off.
Yeah, no, it's tough, and like I don't know if it's better or like worse. Like back in the days, like we would practice more weekends, but I don't feel like like people are still practicing those weekends. The layout was out for like forever. And so
Yeah.
and like even with the Ironman back in the days, we would take the last weekend off. We would not play the now the layout weekends. We wouldn't even play that one.
Ah,
We would take like the whole weekend off, the whole week off, and then go to the event. So everybody's
gotcha.
100%, not beat up, So, but obviously that's not the option right now. You gotta
Hmm.
practice. I don't know which one is better.
Yeah, they all have their pros and cons. Like I don't have kids, but I see from like a family man's perspective, it would be nice to just like play paintball every weekend and not have to worry about a layout. Okay, it's out. We only have so many days because then you could be like, hey guys, why don't we play together every other weekend? The other weekend I get time with my family and my kids.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
now it's like I think they had the right intention with the getting rid of 2 layout weekends thing. We're like, oh, we'll just get rid of 2. That gives you another weekend back. But the reality is, if you're on like one of the top 8 teams or a team
You're
that's
still
trying to win,
practicing. Yeah.
you're going to practice anyways. And now you're going to probably practice during those weekdays until the event.
Yeah, and well, it's kind of interesting to see too. I feel like a lot of people are hurt nowadays too, like because if you practice, like top teams start practicing that Wednesday, Thursday before the event, and then they practice pretty much all the days. Maybe some of the take a couple of days off, and you just bang your body on the ground, and like we were practicing. Like this year, like I'm back playing first time in 13 years. Obviously I'm old now, and I'm beat up. I get beat up, but I was like 3 days of practice on that Vegas field, which was pretty hard.
Yeah.
Like I was like barely getting out of the bed next morning. I'm like just hurting. I'm like my back is still messed up out of it, and I'm like I don't know. I was like I don't know if this is the good way to do it. But I get it.
Yeah.
You got to do it.
I'm not the podcast to like talk about all like current things and like paintball moves and like that, but I did want to touch on that real quick. You playing in Vegas, because I ran into you in like the booth area and we chatted real briefly. I was on the way to my practice field and you weren't geared up, but then the next time I saw you, you were geared up in KC All Stars gear, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I could imagine how that happened because you've played with Todd in Mexico, but yeah, I mean, what made you come back to semi-pro ball?
Well, no, it was kind of like last year because we're working on this movie right now that is going to be coming out this year. And last year I was spending all my weekends all the time filming this movie, So I end up like kind of thinking at the end of the year, I'm like, well, I basically spend all this time at the paintball field filming. And then I was like, well, it would be kind of fun to play, maybe. I'm not sure, And then we played in Mexico. You were there. And I really had a good time playing Mexico. And then Todd played with me a couple times in Mexico. And, like I haven't, like I played paintball every year, but I haven't like competitively played a competitive level paintball, like serious, like practicing and doing all that stuff since I left Ironman. And that was, what is it, 12 years ago, 13 years ago? So 12 years ago. So like, I was like, well, I could try to get on a pro team and then I would have to drop like, kind of like work my way up and, do all this like extra work. And I'm not like exactly ready to do that. So, and then Todd started talking to me about like maybe coaching the team. And then I was like, well, that sounds kind of good, And then I was like, well, if I'm going to coach, I might as well play, So that's why I ended up playing. And I like those guys. They're a great group of guys. They have a great field. They have a good funding on the team, and they practice a lot. They practice like every week, like 3 days a week, So, and they're all young. They're all like their early 20s. Like the oldest guys are like 30,
Yeah.
So, and then like they being super cool to play with because just to like these practices and stuff because they listen, like I played paintball for a long time and went through like the real paintball schools from Russian Legion to, the super Ironman, like all those days. So I feel like I have a lot of experience to like bring those younger guys up who don't really have like a bad habits yet,
True.
So, and like, that's the thing. Like, I was like, yeah, that sounds like a cool little challenge and like fun times. And they're, like I said, they're awesome dudes, So, doing that with them this year and see how it goes,
Man, that is too cool. I'm happy for you, but I'm more happy for them because you have always been like a very technically sound guy. Like you can tell that you went through the schooling and like learned the fundamentals the right way. And like you're gonna shoot someone off break pretty much every point, and you're gonna teach all of those like fundamentals of the game very well. Where there's a lot of veterans that I can think of right now that they're very good, but they're not necessarily the best teachers. They're kind of just like naturals, or like they go with the flow. Like they're more of an artist out there. But you're like that type that can show someone every element of the game and break it down. And I even noticed it in Mexico. It's like you barely ever play other than for fun, but you step on a field first time picking up a gun after a year, and you're the most dangerous guy on the field in Mexico. Like I didn't worry about anybody else there except for like you and Paxson, because I was like,
it's funny.
These guys are not the fastest dudes here, but they're gonna damn well hit their shot, and they're
definitely
very smart.
Fastest, Yeah. But anyways, like that's like, going traveling stories. I guess that could be the first traveling story, like where like I started. Like it basically, I grew up in Finland and I played like back in the days it was called Millennium Series.
Yes.
We would play the Finland. The Finland actually had a really really cool paintball uh, league and everything. It's like one of the oldest paintball leagues in the world. So
Really?
it's still existing and still running. Like it might be the oldest one actually, longest running one.
Wow.
And there was a cool little paintball like community. So me and my brother and like our friends, like we had a team and we played, and then we got like a little bit better team, and then start playing the European events and stuff. And then one day I had I got an invite to go try out for Russian Legion. So going from Finland, which is very westernized, very nice country. Like I'm sure you've been in Sweden, Finland, Norway, in that area. It's nice.
I've never been there.
You've never been there? Jeez.
No, it's on my bucket list. That whole area looks like the most beautiful place.
It's amazing, and it's like super clean, very organized. It's a good place to live. And then like I basically was like, well, I'm gonna fly to Moscow and go on this tryout with Russian Legion.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously my parents were like, you're not going anywhere. I'm like, well, I'm going. It's like there's no like if I have this is my chance to go. Yeah. And then like I flew to Moscow, did a tryout, and basically the main owner, the Sergey, who was like the original main owner of Russian Legion, he basically told me that like you got some potential, but you're not very good. So but you made the team. So if you want to come play in the team, it's fine. So like in like 2 weeks, I like dropped all my life and I just like moved to Moscow. And I don't speak any Russian. They didn't speak any English. Like I think like now the guys do speak English, but like Kirill was the only one. Kirill was like the super young guy on the team, and he was like the only guy who spoke English. And there's a couple other guys who spoke pretty decent English, but that's it. And then it was just on, like they gave me an apartment and I just moved to Moscow, and Moscow was wild at the time, because that's like, they started getting organized, but it was like, just like Wild West. There's gambling, like fucking just like craziness on the streets. Like, yeah, like it was like completely, I went back like 2010-ish with Dai just to do a sales trip, and it was completely different, Yeah. So it kind of like cleaned up. I don't know what it is now. Obviously, it's all crazy there, but that time was wild because it was just kind of like everything was kind of like okay, Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, that was kind of crazy year. So then, I stayed there. We played 5 days a week, 6 hours a day paintball.
Holy shit.
That was the full thing. Like I would like, I was counting like my cases. I would shoot like 35 cases a week by myself.
Oh my God.
So, and we had like 5 coaches. So there was like a fitness coach. There was another fitness guy. There's a technical coach, and there's like your gun skill coach, and you had your overall coach, and like they had everything like dialed in. Like they had it so like systematically planned by like all these real coaches from the real other sports. And I don't think this has ever been done since then, Yeah. So, and they had a program like, hey, if you shoot this guy, like if you run the corner, like you make it 30% of the time, like it's worth of going because like, 30% of the time you win the game, whatever. And then they really figured out what you were good at. And like I was at the time, I played always front. I was fast when I was a young kid. So, but they figured out I was shooting really good. So I started playing more in the back. And that's how kind of like they just like kind of figured that like this guy shoots people off the break and he shoots people like on those secondary moves, So that kind of like determined my spot to play. Yeah, that was like the crazy travel. And then like living in there, like it's like I said, it's like completely different world. There's like you don't really understand anybody. Like this point, people did not speak English in Russia.
Yeah.
It was like,
well, real quick, how old are you at this time?
I was like a 19, 20.
Oh man, so that puts another layer on how different everything is, because it's like you're like still learning the world itself, right? Like
100%.
You're basically fresh out of high school, and this is like flooring you how different it is.
Exactly. No, it's crazy. And then like what the coolest thing would happen was there's three other guys came and actually kind of like made the team. There was Shalo, obviously, who played in Ironman with me, and like is my brother. He's like one of my best friends.
Mm-hmm.
So he came from Brazil, did the same kind of move, like out of nowhere, like just basically when like I paid my trip, I'm gonna go try to make the Russian Legion. He made the team, and then there was Dan from England. So we became kind of like and we were kind of same age, except Shalo was older. He claims he's not, but he is. So like we were kind of like the group now, like we had like friends, and we were hanging out and going out in the town, like go explore what's out there, So, but like it wasn't like that crazy because there was so much paintball. So like off days, you basically were just sleeping, because
Yeah.
you were just beat up, like our practices would go like you do hour like super hard fitness, then you do drills for 2 hours, have a little break, then do another drills for 2 hours, then maybe I play a game or like do like a game, something like real expo, like when it was like long distances. Those were the days. Like so when you were done, you were just like beat up,
Mm-hmm.
but also it made you really good. That's the thing. So
100%.
and that's kind of like the travel has always been like I traveled even before paintball. Like when I was like 15, I just like took off and like went to do like this language school in London. So like I always loved to travel, and I've been liking to go like different places where I'm uncomfortable, and then like kind of figuring out the way that how it is. And so paintball obviously like gave me the chance. Then after Russian Legion, like I end up coming in. We played the last NPPL as a Nexus. I don't know if people maybe remember Nexus and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
anyways, they sucked, and they were going to lose their spots. So they hired all the Russian guys to go play, the Russian Legion players to go play as Nexus, the San Diego MPPL in that year. So, and then I think we took third, we were in top 4. Yeah, I think we took third. So we made the spot. I ended up like staying in San Diego because my buddy Eggy was, if people don't know who Eggy is, he's the guy who like made the ice and the guns, and probably makes 30-40% of the products in the industry right now.
Yeah,
but he's a extremely smart guy, like a brilliant engineer, and loves paintball. So he was working at Dye. He just got hired from Finland, so he's born and raised in Finland as well. And we played back in the days together. So he was in San Diego, so I ended up staying with him, and then made friends with the Ironman guys. Went back to Finland, and like then eventually, like later that year, like it was right before the first event, like Billy Wing and Brian Panini, they called me. He's like, "Hey, we want you in the team. Like, why don't you just move to San Diego?" And I was like, oh, "Sure, let's go." Packed my bags again, went to San Diego, and then played an Ironman forever. So,
all right. So I need some context here because I know people from a lot of places, but I've never been to Finland, and I can't say I have any other friends that are Finnish. So like, one of the things I love most is like culture and different perspectives. So like, I guess for me to understand, when I travel somewhere, I know it's different because I know what America's like. But
yeah,
what is Finland like? Because like
it's very westernized, very Americanized. Like there is no like a culture shock from going from Finland to here. Like
Gotcha.
People are different. Like people are not super friendly. It's funny. They're like when people are friendly to you, they're actually your friends.
Yeah.
So when I like moved to US, it was like everybody's so nice to you. They're like, "Hey, how you doing?" But like that's kind of like the the show, and you don't really know like what they're thinking about you. Finland, when you meet people first time, you maybe do this. That's it.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then like when you like getting friends and you're like, "Hey, what's up?" And then you shake hands, you're like you're buddies.
Gotcha.
So that's like a one big, I would say, difference I felt like when I was like coming to this way. But like when you make friends with the Finnish people, then if you're friends, they're real friends and they're friends forever. Where I feel like here, like everybody's your buddy, but like, are they really? Sometimes.
Yeah.
So I guess there's none of that, like the fakeness is not really like existing like that.
Yeah.
Also, but other than that, it's pretty similar kind of culture, I would say.
Okay. Even back then, like when you were a kid, teenager?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So
and like even stuff like TV, we have like if you watch movies, we have subtitles. Like we don't dub the sound. Like you go to Mexico, it's like they speak in Spanish or whatever. So like that, but that's a big difference too, because like in a lot of the European countries, they did the same way, that they would dub the languages. Like So like we kind of, like I love movies always. So like even like TV and watching the movies and everything, like it's not like you're like really culture shocking coming to US. Like going to other places, that's way different,
Yes.
Just
Okay.
just like, and like the same, like Scandinavia is super clean. It's like super like everything is like kind of organized and nice, So
Yeah.
it's like there's more cultural difference when you travel like South America, you travel to Asia or African countries or something like that. And
Yeah.
even southern Europe is very different than Northern Europe. It's like completely different culture.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I figured, like there wasn't too much of culture shock in terms of you guys probably watch American movies and
Yeah, yeah,
have American fast food and products and Coca-Cola and all that. But something I feel like seems to be different in the culture, and maybe I'm wrong here, but like because it reminds me of like Russia or Ukraine or those places, is like it seems like people in those countries are just tougher. Like
yeah, maybe.
maybe from extreme weather or something, but it seems like and I base this a lot on like stuff I read about Finland in World War II. That was a place that
Yeah,
like the Nazis could not actually maintain. Like they were in there, but
yeah,
everywhere else they were controlling, and that place those
yeah.
people just said fuck you, we are not rolling over, and we're like basically guerrillas the whole time, like resisting it. So like the occupation never really happened, and
Yeah,
I'm
so
like, there's something there about Finnish people.
Finland was the only country outside of UK that didn't get invaded by anybody in the
Ah,
Second World War. So
gotcha.
like we were in a war with Russia, and then we were allied with Germany, and then we were in a war against Germany because we had to get them out of the country.
Hmm.
But it was like we were still the only country that never got taken over by anybody.
Yeah, that's what I
So, but
read.
and I think it's like basic Finnish nature. Like people are very stubborn, and
Mm.
and that's kind of like myself too. Like I've never been a good in anything. I'm just really fucking stubborn.
Yeah.
So like if when I decided I'm gonna be pro paintball player and I want to play paintball, I was just like, okay, well if I practice more than everybody, and if I practice like I just keep going, like eventually it will happen. And I think like nowadays general people are just like so easy they give up, and like they give up their
100%.
dreams, and like if it's not like easy, and like you just float into the deal, like they're like, oh well, I'm gonna do something else, because there's so many like options and opportunities now. Like I played
Hmm.
instruments all my life, for example, too, and I hated it when I was like a teenager, but I was so stubborn, so I didn't quit.
Yep.
So like I think that mindset is very common, like Scandinavian people overall. Swedes, they're a little
Hmm.
soft, but that's how they are. But Finnish people for sure, like we're stubborn. We like we don't quit easy. That's a
Hmm.
different difference, I would say. And like it's funny. I was just talking to someone else about this, and I'm um, like I'm a huge believer that like if you have a vision and you have a dream, and if you just like trust the process and you like keep going, like it will happen. Like it
Yep.
most likely it will happen. Like anything is possible, like,
Yep.
and I've kind of proven in our little world. Like I'm in a little town in Finland that is not like there is no fucking pro paintball in there.
Yep.
And I made it to play one of the best teams ever playing in paintball. and
Hmm.
and and was the main guy playing, and won multiple championships and everything. So it's like anything is possible, but it wasn't easy. You just had to keep towards that goal. And then
Yeah.
even like, and I feel like even when you get older, like it's so easy to get lazy and like kind of lose that focus on your goals. Like
Yeah.
every day I'm like just don't be lazy, like just do whatever, like if you're doing this, like get on your computer and like work on this stuff, like work the work hours, and like then you're gonna be happy end of the day. If
Hmm.
you want to need to go to the gym, like just go to the fucking gym. It's like it's so easy to say nowadays, like I'm just not gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the mindset that like is very prominent in Finnish culture, especially in older culture. It's just like people don't complain, they just fucking do it.
Yeah. Well, I admire about that, about your mindset, because it resonates with me a lot. And I admire that
100%.
about like your, the Finnish people's overall mindset. Cause I think it is too easy nowadays for people to just give up on their dreams. And I think another thing that adds to that, it's not even just like in like the time period, but in America, especially, there's almost too many choices. And when there's too many choices, people are like overwhelmed and they end up choosing nothing, which is like this weird disease where if you put two things in front of people, they can choose. But if you give them 1,000 paths or options, a lot of times they just make no decision. And I see that all the time where people like dabble in something and you're like, oh, they're actually pretty good. Like they have, first time ever doing that thing, they have immediate potential, and then they just get bored of it and you're like, all right, well, I don't know. I don't know what you're going to choose, but you're going to be okay at a lot of things rather than a master of one. And you could be a master of one and like really enjoy a fulfilling life of doing that thing to the fullest.
And I think that's like you're 100% right, and that's exactly like I think the most of people are like that now, you know. And then those people who are not, and they can like focus on like on the task, like it's like, hey, it's gonna take 10,000 hours to be good at something, you know, like what they say. If you just do it, you're gonna be successful. You know, you're gonna find your own little path. You're gonna find your own little thing in there. You know,
Yep.
it's like I said, like I'm like I never been good at anything, but I'm just like stubborn, you know. So
Yeah.
and it's like it goes to now like now like I made a I'm super into filmmaking, and I made a fishing movie last year, and now we're making a paintball movie. You know, it's gonna come up, and like that's like 20 years of like passion. It's like I didn't just overnight come and see like, hey, I want to do this thing. I'm like, no. I started that when I started at, like, even in the high school, and then like later on at die working with some incredible people, working with Pat, working in the outside things, and like you just gotta like stick with it. And
True.
it's like when I start designing paintball gear and product, like it didn't just be like, oh, I just know how to do this. It's like it took years and years and years, and you had to put the time in, and it's funny, like so many people, somebody hit me up and say, can you help me with this thing, this and this and this. I'm like, dude, like just go to fucking YouTube and learn. You
Yeah.
literally do, like you do a week of like watching YouTube videos and learning how to Photoshop, and you can do it. It's not rocket science,
Yeah.
like it's just like you just got to do it. You got to put the hours in, and it's same
That's
in
true.
paintball. It's 100% same in paintball.
Yeah, I think in paintball and in choosing any path that's like an art or like a passion, it becomes the culmination of everything you did. It's
Yes.
like you see people that are really good at these things, and other people want the instant gratification of being at that spot, but they don't see like the 10 or 20 years that led up to that thing. And a lot of times they just, whether it's due to like a want of something that pays more right now, or just the instant gratification of something that's easier or quicker to learn, they just don't allow themselves to get to that point. And like I'm sure you've seen this too, where especially, man, I hate to hate on the US, but like here in the US, like people are spoiled. Like it is very convenient to do everything. And so I remember growing up, and I'm in Buffalo, which is a pretty shitty place for paintball, but it's not Finland. But
Yeah.
like, the drive to practice would be at least like 2 hours
Yeah.
every weekend. And there were kids on the team. This is when we're all like, 13 to 17 area, that were quite a bit better than me. But
Yeah.
like the time would come around to like, all right, it's 6 a.m. You want to go to practice? And they'd be like, "Oh, not this weekend, man. It's just such a fucking drive."
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and even still to this day, like I know kids in Florida and Cali, which are like meccas for paintball,
Yeah.
that you're like, "Hey, we could drive 2 or 3 hours and get a better practice with so and so team," and they're like, "No, let's just play at our local field. It's 15 minutes away." And it's like, oh my
Exactly.
god,
You're
dude,
not gonna be good.
yeah, so you want to just shit on the local D4 kids when we could get a really productive day by just driving a little bit, being in our like comfy air conditioned car with our
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's not convenient enough for people. And in my head, I'm like, all right, well, you're never going to go pro. Like
No.
you're
No.
not
No.
going to be the ones who make it because your mindset's already wrong.
But that's how it is. However, there's a lot of cool things in US since I moved here. Like I want to just like bring this up, like as like an opportunity here. Like if you have that drive and you want to do something, doesn't matter what it is, like you can make it happen. This is the country to do it.
True.
So like that is like way harder in like many countries and many places and many cultures. It's like you kind of like they put you in a set path, and that's what you're gonna do. It's not like
Yeah.
you're like if you're a dreamer and you're like, dude, I want to like really fucking become an actor, and well, you can go for it and you can do it.
Yeah.
So if you want to be like, I'm gonna be a pro MMA fighter, like I'm gonna drop everything and this is what I'm gonna do. You can do it.
Hmm.
You can be a pro paintball player. And that's like, this culture does drive you to do that as long as you have that inside you that you want to do it. And I guess that's the original, like, immigrant attitude, when you came like in the country, and like you've had to make it happen, and that's also like lost a lot of people because they're just too comfortable, and like, it's too easy, so.
Yeah, no, that's true. Here in Portland specifically, I'm sure you've been here at least a time or two. This city is fucking bonkers, that's for sure. But in Portland, if you want to open up a store that still sells records in this day and age, or if you want to sell suspenders with birds sewn onto them, I've seen these weird shops like this on like main streets that these people are probably paying $5,000 a month for like their shop rent. And I'm like, how is this possible? How is this store existing? And that was just a person that was like, this is my dream. I'm fucking doing it. And sure enough, there's enough people in the 1 million people here that support it, and it just works.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think it's like, also the traveling is important that you do that. So you see all these other places and other cultures, and the like how the things happen, and the struggle that some people have, like every day, all the time, like you go in some poor countries, and it's not easy. Living is not easy.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, it's like, well, after like one of my favorite places to like ever I've been is South Africa. I love South Africa. It's like so beautiful, so amazing, and it's so fucked up in the same way. And it's like I think that was the first time I actually, like, when you were driving like to some of the poorest areas, and like it's first of all, it's like kind of dangerous, and you just see people like not like I always compare this, like if you like I've been to Brazil for like 14 times. We'll go to Brazil later, but like when you drive through a very poor neighborhood, people are smiling and they're happy, most of the time. In South Africa, that wasn't the case, like when you drove some of the places and you just saw like the real miserliness, and then it just makes you appreciate like how good you have it, and like now, like if you want to bounce out of that like really poor, some slums, now you got to really have a determination, and you really have to make it happen. In general, it's really easy to do it in here. Like if you're born in the US, or you're Western country, like it's pretty easy to do whatever you want. It's up to you, and that's where it is. And it's kind of like shame to see, like you said earlier, I have a lot of friends who done a lot of different sports, and they like I have a paintball friends like that. Like, they start playing paintball and they got pretty good. And then they're like, no, well, actually, I like surfing, let me try and surfing. And then they start surfing, and they're like, okay, you got pretty good, but you're not good, now I'm going to do this another thing, So it's like, that's cool too, if you want to do that. But if you want to master something that really like have like a cool profession or dream, and you want to become a good, because you have to be in a top 1%, to make yourself seen.
Yep.
So that's where you have to be, the top, at least the top 5%, probably higher, probably 1%. Like, how about all those other people? Like, you just gotta like work harder, and then, like I said, traveling, you see those things when people do succeed and they come like really from the bottom, and they make it happen. That's inspiring for me,
I agree.
And then people don't see that when they go travel, and like, if you stay in your resort and like, just drink your cocktails by the pool and don't even go out there, like you don't experience you don't get the experiences to actually like inspire you in a real life, It might be relaxing and nothing wrong with that, but like I think you have to like kind of get outside your bubble and go see something else, No,
I fully agree with you there. That drives me crazy when some of my friends, one of my friends went to Mexico in the last month or two. They went to Cancun, which is already like a dumbed down Mexico. It's not like a real small town. But I was like, all right, what'd you do? Like, did you enjoy the culture? And they're like, well, we stayed at the all-inclusive resort. I'm like, all right, that's not a good start. And we did the, the beach horseback ride, and then the ATV guided tour through the jungle, and then ziplining. And I was like, oh my God, dude, you basically flew to another country to be like inside an Americanized bubble. Like it may as well have been Orlando, just happened to be on somebody else's coast. Like you didn't see Mexico.
Yeah. That's that people's loss, because you definitely like have much more fun if you go explore and do some, stuff. And that's like, going back to earlier, like Salo, who played in Russian Legion with me, and then like we basically played in some South American teams back in the days, and because there was also good like actual league happening in South America, and like right after Russian Legion year, we went to Brazil with like me, Salo, Max, and Dan, and I stayed there for like a month, and that was like so eye opening, you know. That's like completely different from like Finland to go like Brazil, the real culture, you know.
Yeah.
And that's like when I first did jiu-jitsu, for example, you know, and then like a couple of years later, I started really competing in jiu-jitsu. I'm doing jiu-jitsu like crazy, you know. So that was a really cool time. So like we had a chance to like kind of be the ambassadors for DAI, travel to South America, do clinics, play the tournaments, and we would do very different from like some of my other travel partners. The Shallow was like the best because he actually doesn't drink. So like he like we'll party and stuff, but he's not like a drinker. Like he's like wants to get fucked up. So we end up doing like so much cool stuff because we would just, instead of going to bars and get fucked up, like we would be, you know, let's say like, okay, we're in Peru. Like, let's how do we go to Machu Picchu? You know, like, I don't know. Like, let's jump in a train. Let's go to fucking airplane. Let's go do this, you know?
That's cool.
So like we did like all over the place, like, you know, from Brazil to Ecuador, Peru, Chile, like all those countries. And then kind of like have like, we didn't even have a plan. So like, and this is like almost like, you know, early, like internet wasn't around like in your phone, you know, you had your freaking, you know, maybe you've had an international phone that worked. Maybe I don't think I had in those days, you know, so you had to like use a Skype or go finding something. So like information wasn't so available when you traveled. So it was kind of like really cool to kind of get lost and like, you know, find those adventures or like cool places. So that was a really cool time. Like that was like 2005 to 2004 to 2008, 9, you know?
Yeah.
And then like during those years, like I ended up making like so many fucking good friends, like amazing friends. I still stay touch with them, and like I've gone down like back like a million times. And like that's the cool thing about paintball too, because you end up meeting all these people in different countries, and you have this common hobby, paintball, you know. So and like good for us, you know. But like when you go like the South American countries, for example, people are usually pretty well off. So who do play paintball because it's expensive. So you end up meeting a lot of great people, and then like you have those connections rest of your life. You know, like if like I can pretty much go, you know, I don't know, like anywhere in the world that I have friends, you know, and I sometime I'm hanging out with them and being like you know, what's up. So that's a cool part. But definitely some of my best memories of traveling is like down in South America. I love South America. I especially love Brazil. Like Brazil is great.
Well, yeah, I agree that the connection is like basically one of the best treasures in all paintball. You get like this built-in network of just like people that already like you because of your similar like passion, and it's like it's saved probably both of us and so many people.
100%.
Like you don't need to get a hotel because you can just be like, hey, I'm coming, I'll be there next weekend. They're like, yeah, sure, here's a couch to crash on or an extra bed or whatever. So I absolutely love that part, the connection with like other people, and kind of like how, because paintball, you get to like, especially when you're young, right? When you started, you're 19, 20 doing it. You come up and you're kind of conditioned to like believe certain things, or you're not even conditioned to, but you just assume. And then you meet people in the other places and you're like, this is weird. This person's 3,000 miles away from me, but they're the exact same person as me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they live the same day-to-day life of like go to their job, you know, hang out with some friends, but they're just trying to chase the paintball dream too.
Yep, 100%, 100%. And it's like even from the early days, like I started playing paintball when I was 13, you know. So like, and we played all these like just to like driving to the different places. And I remember like early days driving to the Germany from Finland because we didn't have money to really travel other ways, you know. We just backed up a car and 2 cars and drove down, you know. Like even those experiences, they're so rewarding because like you just end up like connecting with the people, and like as your social, as you know, growth in your life, it's like you learn how to work in a group and like kind of survive in situations that are not always comfort. Like I used one time we were like flying back from Germany, like back in like a long time ago, and like we all got arrested because we had a paintball guns.
Oh my God.
So we literally like like I had a like I think I had like a record of having like a actual like
A firearm?
firearm like violation in the Interpol record.
Holy
And
shit.
then like we got totally like put in a put in these little rooms, and like the cops were investigating the whole thing, like what are we doing, like at held in the airport, the whole team, like, and this is early days, nobody knew anything about this,
Yeah.
and like taking all guns away, like obviously that's a big thing too, like I saved for my gun for a long time, so like now this freaking German cop just took it, so
Hmm.
and then thanks God, like one of our teammates end up being really high in politics, so he was able to fix all the stuff out of the record, for paintball wise. But that could have been like a huge issue in coming like traveling later years, going anywhere.
For
So,
sure. That's a
but
cool
like,
story because I know that even now you need like the F stamp on your
yeah,
gun to get into Germany. I've had that issue before too, even just passing through it. But I never got to hear a story from like the early days before they like figured out, okay, we'll allow this thing and make it not a firearm, but it does shoot a projectile very fast.
yeah,
So yeah, that's crazy.
yeah. No, that was like we were leaving. We already played the tournament. It was like
Yeah.
I don't remember where, and we're leaving, and they're like just like hold on, like you guys, we're gonna separate you, put you in a different rooms. And I'm like, I don't know, I was like maybe 17 at the time, so like and you're just like, what is happening right now? Like I don't like this is going really south right now, like what are we doing, so thanks God we ended up getting out. But like that was like it was like a just a perfect example of like stuff like, hey, when you do the sport you get all these weird situations, and then you kind of have to like manage and like figure out how how to move forward, and like how I'm gonna get out of this, so
Yeah.
there's a plenty of weird travel stories like that, like one of the craziest ones we did, we played I don't know what was happening. I think PSP was wanting to like work with some Middle Eastern, uh there's a Middle Eastern league at the time, and they had like this exhibition tournament, and it was in a Kish Island, which is Iran.
Oh,
So Iron Man flew there. So it was me, Nikki, Billy. I think Devin played with us at that one too. Oliver, and so we fly to Kiss Island, and like now, like I have a Finnish passport, so I basically just walked through, like, and I'm just like, everybody's like, oh, no big deal to come in. Well, it doesn't work like that for Americans to go there.
yeah.
So everybody got detained, like everybody. Like I think like Keely Watson was there, like Lane was there, like from the league, Day was there, and like now I'm like in the Iranian airport by myself, and like all my friends are like being held.
Holy shit.
But I didn't do any travel arrangements. Like I have no idea what we're doing. I'm just like literally just like flying. Like, oh, we're going to Iran. Let's still do this.
Yeah.
And then like the whole. So finally they get out, and like we get on play this tournament. First of all, like we're driving around, and it's like me and Nikki in the car, and we're like, Nikki's like, yo, and I'm like, what's up? Like that car is like following us, and I'm like asking our car drivers, like, oh, that's the Iranian secret police. They just like they follow you everywhere because you're like foreigners. I'm
Yeah.
like, why did we come here? Like this is not smart. Um, and then like the first day, I get like the worst fucking food poisoning, like the worst one ever in my life. Like so, I'm literally like it's coming out of both ends. I'm playing paintball. It's 1,000 degrees hot, desert.
Hmm.
And I'm literally just one point. I was just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna puke and shit right now when I'm playing, and then go just like throw my clothes away and go in a fucking shower. And I'm like so dehydrated. And then it was like talking about the biased paintball. Like they did not want American team to win,
100%.
so so we had to shoot everybody out like literally like 50 times. Like we had to put them down like dead, and then we still beat them, the team in it. But it was a great experience. But like
Jeez.
also again, like go in place like that, which is like pretty radical. I didn't realize that how bad it was before we went there, because I was
Yeah.
like, did you know you were in Iran? You're like, they're saying it's like a free island, but it's not. You know, so but understanding like the paintball people there, they were just like us,
Yeah.
they were just like us, and they were like, well, it's not us, like this is our government, like, so basically you're just realizing that like this tiny little rich corrupted, you know uh regime, like, or whatever the sheiks or whatever it is, controls all these other people who are just like normal people, you know? So you start
Yes.
appreciating these things like, well, you know, like these people are not bad, but they're like, their government is, you know, like, you know, their politics is not good, you know, but
Yep.
it's like these paintball guys, they're just same as we are, you know, they're cool as fuck. Like, I
Yep.
would hang out with them anytime, you know? So,
Dude, I completely agree. You know what's funny is we probably met the same group of people, or maybe you met the OGs of that team, but
yeah,
Iran's national team is called Datis.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. I remember
it's
them.
been
Yeah.
around for forever. It's now like, you know, the one of the longest
That's why
standing
I think
like
we played in finals. Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
because we've played them before. They like to go play all the PALS events in
Yeah.
Asia. So I've played
Yeah.
them a few times. One of my buddies on that team, Mohammed, I'll probably have him on soon to share his perspective of traveling the world. But it's the same thing. When I first met those guys after playing them in semifinals, you know, we're all sitting around like having food together, and it's just like, dude, just let's just connect, man. Like, just level with me here. And they're like, dude, we hate your government, but we love you Americans.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, it seems like we're the same for you. Like 99% of all people are good and you guys seem great, but for some reason our governments just can't fucking get along and it drives
Yeah.
me crazy. Like they make us like dehumanize each other and like treat each other like enemies. And if the that this is the good thing about social media is when you do meet and connect with the other, like the person on the other side of the border, you're normally like, how can I be mad at this person? Like this person just wants a family and happiness too.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why it's good to travel. But like, I'm selective nowadays when I want to go. Like, I'm like, I don't go any weird shit if I don't have to, you know? So like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I had my share for that, doing that. Now I like to go like, I'm super specific. I actually don't like flying. You know, I've never liked flying.
Really?
So like, it's always been like, uh, I hate airplanes. I hate being at the airport. I hate flying. So also the person who's probably flew like, I don't know, like I had like active 3 million active airline miles, like not
Yeah.
from credit cards, but actually flown, you know? So like, it's crazy. Like, that's why usually I go to the airplane and just like pass out right away. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm asleep because I hate it, you know? So, but I do nowadays think like when I'm like, okay, well, like last year there was a couple of opportunities to go to Europe, and I'm like, nope. And they're like, what, you don't want to go to Paris? I'm like, absolutely not.
Nope.
Like, I've been there, I've seen it, I love it, it's great. Uh, like, do I want to go there and sit in the airplane for like 2-3 days and traveling and like dealing with all the craziness? Nope, I'm good.
Yeah. I get it, dude. I mean, I don't think anybody really enjoys flying, but I don't mind it too much as long as I like do it the correct way. If I,
Yeah,
get my upgrades, if I'm in the lounge resting, between and whatever.
that's the hardest part. Like when I was like kind of stop playing at the pro and like stop working at die, when you lose your freaking upgrades, it's like going back in time, because it was
Oh yeah.
like, I don't know, like back in the days, the executive platinum American was like you could upgrade every time. Like whatever ticket you bought, you were always in your first class or business class. Like it didn't matter, you know.
Yeah.
And like when you lose that and you're like, fuck, I'm back in the plane again, you know, like it makes it tough, you know.
It's
But
rough. Well, dude, what this tells me though is you must really, really love like traveling, like the part where you're there,
oh yeah,
because to hate the flying and still do it as much as you've done it, millions of miles, like other people would be like, I don't like this, I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
for
no,
you,
I love it. And like actually, like US, I like lately I've been driving everywhere. Like I just like drive. Like I drove World Cup last year from Montana. Like it was like, fuck it,
nice.
dude. I'm gonna be there for a month. Like I'm just gonna drive. It's like, but it's kind of cool. Like you end up seeing like little things on the way and
Yeah.
stuff. Like it's a very different perspective. So like I'm like even the Vegas event, like I could have flown there fucking super easy here, but I end up like driving, you know. So
Yeah.
I
That,
just I just like to be on the road.
dude, I think that is something that is missed on our country is we have every type of geography. We have,
Yeah.
mountains, the Grand Canyon, snow, not snow at the same time of the year, rivers, lakes, ocean. Like it's truly, there's marshes, there's swamps. It's incredible how much diversity is in this country. And I used to drive to every event for the longest time for like
Mhm.
7 years. I would drive to every PSP and MPPL from
Yeah.
Buffalo. Like
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
drive
Yeah.
from Buffalo
It's a long
across to
way.
Riverside, California. It was
Yeah.
like, but at the time it was like, hey, if I can get four of us in my car, that'll be cheaper than each of us buying a plane ticket. and like hopefully guys are just road warriors. But man, you would see stuff in the middle of the country that like nobody ever even talks about, and it was epic every single time. Like you'd be tired, then more tired than a 4 hour flight, but after you got home, like you had all those extra stories from really getting to like slow down and see the detail of the country.
100%. And it's like meeting the people too and realizing the differences of the like the areas. Like living in Montana, living in New Orleans is like you're in two different countries, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
living in San Diego and living in Montana is two different countries. You know, it's
Yep.
like it's the same country, but that's how different it is, you know, that's how different the people are. That's how different the like just the, you know, like I'll walk outside and I have a two mountain ranges right here, like and like rivers and like cool shit and like when before I had a beach, you know. So it's like
Yep.
it's that's the cool stuff that you want to see and you want to experience that, you know.
Yeah, true. And what's funny is it's like this in our own country, and it's also like this around the world. It's almost like places are in a different time. Like, because some places, let's say San Francisco, there's like fucking robots patrolling the street now, like
Yep.
giving parking tickets. But then there's other places, like let's say a small town in the middle of Mississippi that I've driven through going from Texas to Florida, and it feels like they're back in the 70s. Like there's still
100%.
some backward stuff.
100%. Yeah, it is crazy. Like when you go to San Francisco now, it's just like, you know, cars are driving themselves. Like there's no drivers. You got like everything is like super high tech. And then, like you said, you go and in the same time, it's kind of rough there now too. But,
Yeah,
you
true.
know, so then you go like in a small town in somewhere and it's like nothing has changed here since like last 30 years, you know? So
Yeah. And in other places like the world, like man, I'm sure you saw that in specific in parts of Brazil and South Africa, dude. Some of that place looks undeveloped, as if like I mean, there's not even a lot of electricity sometimes, or there's like staggering powder outages. So you're like, whoa, this place is like 100 years back, just kind
well,
of
yeah,
stuck there.
it's like crazy. Like I was talking to I don't know if you know Troy. Troy is a African guy, super good friend of mine. He's been
No,
around forever. Like he was in the World Cup. He's a die guy. Uh, but I was talking to him, and like right now, South Africa, they basically have these time slots, and they shut down the grid is like broken, so electrical grid, and so many people are stealing electricity that they can't
yeah,
maintain it. So like they just send you a letter and say like, hey, every like third day we're gonna shut your power down for 10 hours. You have
hmm,
no power, and and then you're like, okay, well I have a kid and I gotta make food and I gotta do this, and now you're gonna start making a plan B because you just don't have power.
yeah,
And that's crazy. That's like
wild.
absolute crazy, wild, you know. And I guess the problem is so bad that there is no really solution to fix it. You know,
Hmm.
they're just screwed. You know, so then you got to appreciate the stuff like, okay, when you have electricity, like you should be pretty happy. You know,
Yeah. And
so
it puts you on kind of like a schedule, right? Because you're like, okay, I have electricity right now. If I have a job that requires that, I have to be efficient with my time
mhm.
because it's about to end. It's not like I can choose my own
Yeah,
hours.
that really sucks. Like it's tough there, like right now, you know. And it's
Hmm.
like talking to those people, I'm like, oh, I feel sorry for you guys, you know. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing. Like I remember being in the Sao Paulo one year, then they had the big troughs and like there's no water, so they just basically shut down. Well, there's all kind of things. First of all, you had like a license by your license plate number that you're allowed to drive these days on a week into the city with your car.
Yeah.
You cannot drive like every day because there's too much traffic.
Oh my
and
God.
and then like they would just shut down like from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Do you have no water? Like we just shut it down for everybody, you know. So like that was like not a long time ago. I was there, and that was the deal, you know. They were like,
Yeah.
okay, well you know use bathroom, like go use it before the 11 because otherwise fuck you can't flush it, you know.
Yeah.
So like make sure there's no water, there's no taking showers, there's nothing, you know.
Yeah. Hopefully you're hydrated because if you're thirsty, you're playing a sport right now. Sorry, no water
Well,
for you.
you don't want to drink that water anyways, but
Mm,
you know, so
gotcha. Well,
but but anyways, like those are the things like you don't respect sometimes, and it's good to see that because then you respect them, you know, and you realize
yeah,
that things are not so bad that everybody talks about in social media and everything else. It's like, okay, well, at least we have the basic things going still, you know.
this is true. Every time I've traveled to like a third world country, I always come home appreciating everything I have a lot more, and just also
100%.
noticing little things I take for granted. And I guess this would be something I'd like you to shed light on, because maybe I've seen some of these places, but I think when people think about poverty in this country who they haven't really traveled, they're just picturing like Section 8 houses and people with like food stipends, stuff like that. But like, dude, tell me about real poverty. Like,
Yeah, like like I've been in places like that. Government, for example, the government gives them money that if you have babies, so that people just have babies to have them so they can get paycheck, and then your life starts literally being in a cardboard box in some slum,
oh my
and then
God.
and that's how you figure it out, like that's the reality, and that's not even like people are starving, but like that's just in any massive big city. Like if you don't have money and you're poor and your parents are poor, like there's no like easy way to go out of it. So
Yeah.
obviously that leads to a lot of crime and leads to other bad things, because it's like you're gonna make it somehow. So
Yeah.
but like I know there's a poverty in US, and it's like there's a big class differences and everything, but also like in the same time, like I said, this is definitely the land of the opportunity, that if you really want that, like it's pretty, I would say it's not easy, but it's like it's possible to be anything.
Yeah.
And there's no like a really big roadblocks to block you on that. But I feel like a lot of these poor countries and like third world countries, like there is the roadblocks that you just can't. Like if you didn't born in the right place, that you can't be something.
Yeah, I've noticed that, like here, let's say you start off and you're in some hood and you work at McDonald's, it might take a while, but you can work your way up in that. And even if you don't, if you save enough money, you can like move to a different, better place. But like
Mhm.
some of these other places I go, I look around and I'm like, okay, I only see a few even possible jobs on this little town or island or whatever. Like
Yeah,
it's not like there's just infinite like extra jobs, or like I'll start a hockey store. There's just like you're either gonna like be one of the people selling food, or like one of the few people giving like I don't know, like a tour on the beach or whatever, and that's it. And you're not
yeah.
really making much money, so like it would take a really long time to like save up enough to get you and your family to somewhere with more opportunity. And that's just kind of it's what it is. It's like their fate.
That's how it is, and that's also like I don't know like why like everybody always clusters into the big cities. So when you travel, like try to get out of those big cities, because it really like opens up to see the coolness of like the cultural and like different places, because like on those big cities there's a clusters of people who are trying to make it happen. There's a lot of poor people. There's a lot of crime. Like there's all these things. But like in Mexico, so we're just Puerto Vallarta. It's a really cool city. I love Puerto Vallarta. But we
Mm-hmm.
went we went down after the tournament. We drove down 2-3 hours through this jungle on this place called Maito, and it was like this paradise hotel. There's nothing else in the town. Like it was just like it's got probably like I don't know 20 rooms in a hotel, and then like this beach bar and like just beautiful beach right away. And we basically rented ATVs, and we drove ATVs up and down like 20-mile radius up and down the beach, and we just fished like the most amazing fish. So
Sick.
and like the people were so nice and like so amazing with like the food was so freaking good compared to like being in uh, in a city.
Yep.
Like we stayed in a resort, and it was like okay, resort food is whatever it is. It's like that. And
Yeah.
then you went this place, and I'm like, dude, like this is sick. But it just reminded me like try to get out of the the big hubs of like business.
Yeah.
Because that's when it gets good when you travel just a little bit outside.
I agree with you. I'll say me and you seem to be pretty similar in the way we travel. And I've always had the most fun when I go outside to like an authentic, like a village that feels genuinely the way that country is rather than like a metropolitan city. Like my favorite example is like, I never went to Bali, Indonesia. I went to like inner Indonesia,
Yeah,
and, like these little tiny village towns along Lake Toba, where each town maybe had 500 or less people in it. And so there's not a lot of technology there. There's not a lot of businesses. But what was weird is like almost like an ignorance is bliss thing is everybody in those towns were just happy to be their own community, happy to be
Yep.
working together, happy to be like fishing for their food and doing whatever it was. And it just seemed like more harmonious because it was so small.
100%, 100%. And I think like that's when you really experience the culture too. Like, yeah, cool to go Bali, you know, like I know friends that go to Bali and then they literally go the same chain nightclub that they have in Vegas, you know, like, and then
Oh
like
God.
that's their doing a bottle service in the freaking nightclub in Bali, and like that's the Bali experience. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
was it worth it flying there? You know, like you didn't do any cool shit, you know. And I don't mind go party, like I'll go party in a night or two, you know. But it's like I also want to do all the fun stuff, you know. So
Yeah.
I only been in Bali once, but it was cool. We went surfing, so it was a surf trip.
It sounds sweet and it looks beautiful from all the pictures and everything like that, but it looks like it's slowly becoming kind of like an Americanized bubble in Indonesia where people move there and they can very cheaply open up their own like boutique store,
Yep.
or you just see a lot of like those cool little like pop-up main street type vibes, and it's like, all right, well, this isn't probably what it used to be where it was like undeveloped and like
Yeah, there's a ton of people.
yeah.
That's what changes everything.
Hmm.
But then there's like cool cities, like one of my favorite cities, like probably my favorite city ever to travel to is Hong Kong. Not the one in DJ, but the one in Asia. So that one is like a cultural melting pot because you have like the very strong English culture, you know, and presence, and then you have very strong, like there's tons of Australians, there's tons of Chinese, there's a tons of like everywhere in the world. There's like it's like a melting pot of people, and it's kind of
Yeah.
like I used to love to just go there and like run around in the city, you know, just find some kind of trouble, you know, and that place is like one of my, like if you think like condensed, talking about like extra condensed, like people literally living top of each other on this giant, skyscrapers, and uh that place is cool. Like I highly recommend. Like I don't know how it changed. I haven't been there in 10 years, but like back in the days we used to go there all the time.
Yeah.
And that was like always, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay a couple extra days because I just like have fun here. It's like you can
Hmm.
find such a weird vibe, and like kind of like I said, there's all these different cultures just like melted into one little tiny area. So,
Yeah.
and some of the European cities are like that too, but like they're just like not like it's not like a tiny little concentrated city center.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of like good melting pot cities like LA, New York City, London in a way, but I've heard Hong Kong is like probably the best of it, and it's so like densely packed that it's like you turn a
Exactly. That makes
corner.
it different because it's literally like it's right there. You walk 2 minutes and you're in a different scenery.
Yes,
So
like
that's
block to
that's what that
block.
exactly. And also like I some like what I do like about the Asia traveling in Asia, it's like generally speaking, I don't feel it's dangerous. Like I
Agreed.
never felt that. Like I've been in the places and I'm like terrified. Actually, like the one of the most scared I was like lately. I was in San Francisco and I was walking through the bad neighborhood, and I was like, I am gonna get robbed. Like this is
Yeah.
gonna happen. Like I like literally had like several people coming to like, what's up? Like, and I'm like, well, dude, whatever. But it's
Yeah.
like didn't have to go that far, and I was more scared than there being in a favela in Brazil. Like
Yeah.
it was not cool, and I felt like, well, this wasn't a good experience. Like I was dumb. I was like, fuck it, I was gonna walk there. If it was a bad neighborhood, don't do it.
Hmm.
So, but like Asia, like we used to spend about 2 months out of a year in Taiwan when we were at Thai.
Hmm.
So we had apartments there and like everything. And like Taiwan, for example, like you can do whatever you want. Like there's no like threat to you. Like I never felt like there's the areas like some of the bars are like run by like Taiwanese mob or something. But they're like they basically let them know right away, like, okay, you're not welcome here. Like they're like, okay, well, sure. I'm walking somewhere else.
Yep.
But like even like Hong Kong, like I never felt like I was scared, like I'm gonna get robbed or like I'm gonna get mugged or something, like I'm gonna get in a fight or something like that. It just didn't like really feel like even like option. And I felt
Yeah.
like generally in Asian countries I feel like that.
I agree. I feel
Where
that.
South America, you're like, okay, well, gotta be smart. Like you have to be smart. If you're not smart, they're gonna get you.
That's true. I think Asia has like a hustle to it. Like people will hustle you for like their
Yes.
products or whatever, but it doesn't seem to have any violence. And it seems to have this built in culture of like a lot of respect, a lot of like, kind of like Buddhist mentality of like do to others what you'd want done to yourself. And then
Yeah,
there's like those, like, I don't know if it's due to the religion or the traditions or the
yeah,
laws, but people are just very like, it's like they're worried that if they do anything, they'll be shamed. So like there's
yeah.
just that built-in extra respect level.
So I do have a funny story like about like how efficient they're there too. So we used to go like uh so the east coast of Taiwan is like the inner like facing China, and it's like more calm, and then and that's where all the big cities are because it's more protected.
Yeah.
And then the west coast is like that. The east coast is basically it's like very tropical, like actually super sick. Like it goes to like really high mountain range, and like then it drops down to like beautiful beaches and like everything. And the surfing was really good, so we used to go surf there all the time before it got kind of popular. But one time we're gonna take scooters and drive all the way from like uh, from other side to the other side of the mountains, and then like my buddy Josh Durbin, who is the guy who is one of the owners at Carbon. So like he can't drive scooters. Like you can't give him anything with the two wheels. He just can't. He can drive a Jeep and that's it, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, so we end up driving, and I'm like, we're like a little worried. I'm like, well, Durbin, you're gonna be good, you know? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine, you know. He's like being himself. And then like we're up in this like crazy like S roads going up, and I'm like looking back, and he's not there, you know? So we go back. Of course, he got hit by a car. So
Oh
now
my
he's like on the
God.
ground, like he's like acting all tough. He's like, I'm fine, I'm fine. I'm like, and I just see like a tire mark like went over his ankle, like directly. Like it's just like basically
Holy
like he
shit.
fell, the car pushed him, and the car went over his leg, and like he's got a road dress everywhere, and there's like this little Chinese lady is like trying to put like Taiwanese ladies like trying to put like a little bandit on it, like this big road dress on his leg. And I'm like, yo, like I'm like they're freaked out because they're like these Western guys are right here, and like obviously we hit it. So I'm like, look, stop it! You're not gonna do anything with that little bandit. Like,
Yeah.
let me take a look here and see. Like, let's assess the situation. So anyway, so they end up taking off. So Dermot is like, I'm fine. I'm like, well, okay, if you're fine, like stand up like 5 minutes, and if you're good, then you're good. He stands up, he's like right on the ground. I'm like, okay, you're not good. So let's
Yeah.
get a
Yeah.
fucking ambulance. So now as soon as we call the ambulance, now it becomes like a legit like situation. This is a traffic accident, you
Yeah.
know? Good things where nothing really happened to him. I don't know how the angle was like this big, but it was like fine, nothing broke. So but those people, they fled. So now it became a hit and run crime scene.
Oh my God.
And then like it was crazy because like we had to go to this cop station like in this little mountain village, and they had like the whole place is cameraed up. Like there was not a one thing in there that they didn't have a camera watching on it,
Mm-hmm.
So they end up like getting these people, and like it was like a big deal. Like they almost got in huge trouble because they did a hit and run. They just left the scene of accident. But I think they were so freaked out because they were like these two Western guys, and then the one guy is like, I'm fine, and then like other guys like, leave him alone, like don't do anything. But anyways, that was a little adventure in Taiwan. But that just like shows like how the okay, so we talk about crime, like they have like cameras everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like you think like you're not being seen, like they have cameras everywhere, and everything is recorded in those
That is, I've noticed that too. Even a lot of Europe has that, the CCTV thing.
Same thing.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. That's a great story, by the way, because I love moped stories. I have a bunch of my own, and I don't know if you listen to the show, but it's normally like a topic I bring up where it's like, all right, have you crashed a moped anywhere out about? But I've never heard of one like leading to a whole serious ordeal. Normally, it's just the person gets fucked up.
Yeah, no, that was like Durbin. Like I think he like crashed like 3 times, and then he was like banned. Like you can't have anything with 2 wheels anymore. Like let's just get in your car in Taiwan.
Okay, do you have you crashed a moped?
No, I'm a great driver, dude.
Oh, really?
I never crashed anything.
Okay, dude, I believe you're a good driver, but like I don't know, sometimes it's a little rainy, sometimes somebody steps out in front of you. I just had a buddy on yesterday, LB Fow, and he said he was driving and a little old man just stepped off the curb as he was coming, and it was either I'm going to plow through this old guy and probably kill him, or I'm going to avoid them and wipe out. So I don't know. I just figured at one point something had to
No, I
happen to you.
actually never crashed. Like I crashed, like I drove motorcycles and mopeds and whatever, like all my life, and I crashed a million times, but not like in a traffic situation, like when I'm not supposed to crash. So,
Gotcha.
but I had like plenty of those stories. Like when we were in Bali, like my buddy Roy. So we drive like 20 minutes away, and like this is like between the paintball trips, and we're like, let's just go surf Bali. So we went there. We didn't have a surfboard, so we had to go buy the surfboards from this place. And he's like, I know this place, but it's like 30 minutes away, like through this crazy traffic. And then it starts like we buy the surfboards, and then like he's like, yo, dude, I can't drive a fucking scooter with the surfboard. And I'm like, so I'm supposed to like hold 2 surfboards now and drive a scooter like 30 minutes through the fucking this crazy city. And it's like started like pouring rain, like crazy rain. And then I'm like literally like driving with 2 surfboards, like holding them, like basically like I don't know how I made it. That was like, but there's plenty of those stories, and like most of my friends have crashed them. There's always somebody has crashed them, and like I know like a couple of people have died actually. From the crashes. I wasn't there, but like they're like friends.
Jeez.
But, yeah, one guy like drove in the barbed wire fence and like just fucking got shredded to pieces.
Oh,
so like you got to be careful,
Yeah.
And the traffic there is crazy,
Mm-hmm.
So like, especially like, I remember like even driving the car, like in Malaysia multiple times, and it's like a wrong side traffic and there's no rules. It's just like, you just got to go with the flow. You just got to find the right speed and go with the flow. And just like, it's like a water,
Yep. I agree. That's a good way to put it is, people here have the stereotype of like, oh, bad Asian drivers. But when you're in Asia, I feel like people are really good at driving because they understand people are going to merge. You just have to let them.
I don't know about that, but
I think there is more of a flow to it. Here, if someone tries to merge in, other people act like they own the road, and it's like, oh, 100%. You cut me off. Whereas there, they just like, you slow down, you let them in, and then sometimes like there's no light, but somehow everybody's crossing every which way, and like kind of filling in the gaps. It's unique. I've never seen an accident over there for as like thick as the traffic can be.
Yeah, I've seen some bad ones. Don't ask. Or like it's Google Taiwanese scooter accidents. Then you're gonna change your mind. Like it's crazy.
Okay.
And then you also see like people like used to see like guys like they're all wearing the masks because they're so worried about getting some disease, and they have like 2 babies on both handlebars, a dog, and like a mom, the grandfather and the father in the scooter, and they're all driving like through like craziest traffic, and then they all wearing masks because they're worried about getting some disease.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, dude, you got like a priorities little wrong here,
Yeah, I agree.
Like, that's not safe. What are you doing? The chances of that, killing the whole family in your one scooter is like higher than maybe getting sick. But it's like it's so funny. Like,
agreed.
But that's like the reasons I could never live in Asia because like how the culture is, like I understand it. There's not much like a personal space, and it's like I say, like you go to Japan and you go to metro line, and it's literally like if you stop, it's like feels like this is like water coming around you, like people just go around you, like it's like you're like literally can become a rock in the flow,
Mm-hmm.
So and the people are so close to you like everywhere, and I'm like that's the one reason I would have never lived permanently in Asia because I'm like I don't like I like having my personal space, So like, but that the culture is different, and people are like kind of like working in harmony, and it's like there is no personal space.
Yeah,
so it's a very different experience,
Yeah, it's almost more like an ant colony where everybody's just like part of the bigger organism.
That's it. It's like that's how it feels like when you're like observing it. It's just like everybody goes to work and do this and that, and like it's just moving around.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, people are their own individuals, but like, there's not a lot of eye contact, and like, people are very much like in their cog or whatever it is they're doing. So yeah, if you're just sitting and people watching, you're just like, it's like there's not a lot of personal interaction here. There's more just everybody in their quick A to B, kind of like New York City to the extreme,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we talk about different places like New York City. Like I like New York City. Lately, it's not that attracting to me anymore. But like when I was younger, I used to love New York City, and it is like the same thing. Like you're just like it's not it's just like your own little bubble. It's like own little country, because there's so many cultures, and so many different type of people just like melting and living in this space that is kind of limited, you know. So
Yeah.
that's a, but like I said, like I'm in my 20s, I used to love that place. I used to like love to go there and hang out, you know.
I'll say I liked it too for like the learning aspect because you can meet people from everywhere
Yeah,
and you can, like learn a little bit about the cultures or try really good food or whatever. What I don't like about New York City is that like there's only one park to go to if you want to feel grass.
yeah,
So
yeah,
and when you try to go to bed at night, unless you're 70 floors up,
yeah.
you can't turn all the sound off. Like you're gonna hear
No,
that city
definitely.
no matter what.
Yeah,
So
not anymore. Definitely, I don't. Not my jam. Like I go there all the time to hang out with Mister U. You know, we go fishing, and it's just like every time I go to the city, I'm like, how do you live here? This is like out of control. You know,
it's
it's
overwhelming.
crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. And it's so expensive. Like I know a friend used to play me on New York Extreme, Aaron Tress. He was like in like I swear his room that he was renting must have been like 350 square feet, like a closet, like
Hmm.
and it was like $3,500.
Oh yeah, that's how
I'm
it
like,
is.
dude, how does anybody afford to live here? Like this is
That's
crazy.
how San Diego has became too. Like when I was like I felt always like I had like the luckiest 20s that I was able to live on the beach in San Diego, you know, with like literally living like this, like the best times. So like, you know, beach lifestyle and play paintball and do all the cool shit, you know, surf every day. You cannot do that anymore. If you don't have like an insane income, like good luck trying to do that in San Diego. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like if you don't want to live like with 7 roommates in a 2 bedroom apartment, it's crazy, you know. Like
Yeah.
this is funny. I've been kind of catching up in all the old paintball movies here just for inspiration, and I watched the Excessive movie Pat made, and because I actually didn't like the movie when it first came out, and I promised Pat I'm going to watch it again, and I think it's amazing because I think I was so biased in that time, thinking like, oh, you guys all suck, you know.
Yep.
So like it was hard to watch that like outside of that perspective and just being like whatever, you know. So, anyways, I watched it again, and like when Nikki Vegas like leaves the team and moves out of San Diego, he's like, well, good luck living here. It's like, you know, you can get this beach place. You only have to pay $800 a month, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that would be amazing. Now it's like $5,000 a month, you know, to get that same apartment.
Yep.
Like, I don't know how people do it, you know?
It's
So
wild. I mean, they do it by having sweet jobs or living with 7 other people. Or
exactly.
I feel like LA is pretty much all of that. San Diego, the vibe I get there whenever I'm there is like LA people are like trying for it. You know what I mean? Those are people trying to make it. It seems like the bulk of San Diego, especially in that mile from the water, those are people that have already made it. Like it's family
100%.
wealth.
But that wasn't the case. Like when I was like in my when we were like in our 20s and party, that was like where the college kids were living. That's where like all the parties were
Ah,
happening. So it changed like over this like 17 years I was there, like it changed completely. Like those beach towns became like non-beach towns, and they became like,
gotcha.
you know, just people who made it, rich people, you know. So the
Yeah,
vibe definitely changed in those towns. Like, and it's kind of like that's probably the same thing. Like, you know, you realize when you grow old, like when your parents were telling like stories, like like because this is the same time frame. Like it's like, you know, from like 2005, they would tell like, oh, 85, this was to be insane here, you know? Like, I'm like, fuck, dude, it's the same time now. Like, I'm telling like, oh, 2005 was like great, you know? And now it's like 2025.
yeah,
So it's kind of funny because you realize that like, oh shit, I got old, you know?
that's true.
But it's cool to see those like that, like I said, like I loved my time in San Diego. Like, and I was so happy that I was like, I got to live in the most amazing place in like literally the ultimate beach life, you know. And
Yeah,
I don't think it's possible to do anymore. Like it's not possible for some 20 plus 23-year-old kid to go there and do that, you know, if
that's
you're not
true.
very well off. And definitely the vibe is not the same because, you know, now the people are just, you just got to be well off. So it's like a rich people thing, you know.
True. No, you're right. You were very fortunate to like right time in the right place. And it's another one of those things where we can look at time and now we can try to see like patterns and try to
Mm-hmm.
find the next San Diego. But back then, you lived in the place that most people would say is like the most ideal climate in the country. Like it's never too
Yeah.
hot, but never cold, sunny 99% of the
Yeah.
days. And it wasn't built up to be these $10,000 a month condominiums. And
Mm-hmm.
Ferraris and shit yet. It was just like another
Yeah,
beach
yeah.
town.
And
And
it was the
now,
ultimate paintball mecca at the time, like we
mm,
were all the same age too. Like we're all like born the dynasty guys and like everybody, we're all like 1980 to 1984. That's like everybody's in that same age category.
yeah, that's
So
true. Let me ask you this, Miko, because I have these thoughts all the time. I feel like just like how the world is westernizing, like you find places that only 10, 20 years ago didn't have a McDonald's, now they do. And like the local people probably are not happy about it, other than the ones who get jobs. But do you feel like that is now happening everywhere and it's only a matter of time before we don't have those like Sayulitas and stuff like that anymore? Like they just become another Cancun full of resorts, and that makes the price go up. And you know what I'm saying? Like it starts to price the locals out from being able to live there because it's the future San Diego of that area.
yeah, I'm sure that happens in a lot of like the more underdeveloped places. Like obviously these big money corporations are looking to get investments, and like it's already happened like Cancun and like you know by the Carmen and like all those spots. Like
Yep.
it's already happened. Like it's not the same place than it was like 20 years ago. It happened in Costa Rica. It happened in
Yep.
all these like paradises, and now they're just like not cheap anymore.
Yep.
Uh, but then like I see like on the other side for like going like to Scandinavia, for example, like if you go like Norway, which is one of my favorite places in the world, like Norwegian coast, like the especially northern Norway. I like love that place. We're gonna go there this summer again. But
Nice.
uh, like I feel like the places like that, they're they're kicking the McDonald's out, and it's becoming like more like, hey, let's like, what is our food? What is our like heritage? And I see that happening also. Like I could see that start happening in South America, and I know it's happening like some places in South America, like which are like kind of like being longer in the business. So and it's I think there's the wave of like when areas get popular and they start developing, that all these corporations come in and kind of try to dominate and make the money. But I
Mhm.
feel like when people get past that thing, they start appreciating like the original, you know, the smaller businesses and like good quality of stuff. Like it's even you can see that even in the US. So like if you look like a coastal California, people are generally super healthy.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking like 2 miles from the beach.
Yep.
People are super healthy. Like Del Mar, where I used to live, like they didn't allow any like corporations to be in there. Like you could not have a McDonald's in our town. That
Hmm.
was like not acceptable. And then when you go to middle America, some like more like not so developed areas, it's all about chains and chain restaurants and
Yeah.
everything. Like it's all about like that. Like even coming to Montana here, like one of the big things I didn't like about it, like you can get a great steak in here, you get a great burger, but like food generally like kind of sucks. Like
Yeah.
you go to like restaurants and it's like the TGI Fridays experience. Like it's
Hmm.
like where did this come from? And like I see that happening now, like in Missoula, like right here, like where uh these like a younger generation of like groups or like investment groups and stuff, and they're like opening like dope places, they're opening good food, and they're like buying local food and like really talking about that. And like even like funny, I have a neighbor like next to my house here, and like he's a super cool guy, and like I was just laughing the other day because they're like they have heart problems, they're older people and all that stuff, and but and I'm like but it's like those like some of these guys, like they just don't know anything about the health. They don't know
Yeah.
like and I'm explaining them like, well, you gotta eat, like you can eat whatever, but you gotta eat like don't eat the you know factory farm stuff, processed stuff, like eat raw ingredients. And they're like, well, that's what we used to do, and like blah 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 blah. But like people just like there's a huge like a difference on the educational level of health. And I think when that comes in a community, that your majority is like people are looking to these like options that are not like like they don't want to suddenly they don't want to have the big hotel being built here anymore.
Yeah.
They want to have like, well, let's just don't do this in here because this is like, let's preserve that. So like I think like until those areas get there, they're gonna be raped by these big corporations and like kind of destroy the original vibe.
Yeah.
You know? But I hope that there's like I feel like Sauita, for example, like I have a friend who owns the surf motel there. He's like he's an old pro surfer, and like he's actually half Finnish, so that's how I know him. So like those people, like he moved back there and lives there and runs the thing. Like, but I think people like that are important because they've been out and they see this development and they trying to protect the original, the vibe and original culture and original, you know. But why people usually fall in love in some place because it's like, well, that was amazing, you know. Like I could. Well, it was funny. We were at the fishing place in Mexico, like after the PayPal event, and like there's this New York real estate developer chick, like super annoying, like she was like 55, like just like hammered, you know, just talking.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know, you guys should be buying real estate here. Like I'm planning to bring this guy and this guy here, and we're gonna put condos right here and here. And I'm like, just like, so you're trying to ruin the place that you like? And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, so literally like this is a paradise right now. You built those condos here, it's gone, and I'm never coming back. You know, like that's like, and so, and you're the reason it's happening, you know. And she's like, she got all offended. I'm like, no, but that's truth, you know.
Yeah.
Like you came here, you love it, and now you're like part of the problem, trying to ruin that authenticity, like that thing that you came back here 10 times and wanted to buy a house in here, you know.
Yes.
So and like I think that's the problem, you know.
Yep. What those people like, what I like, what you like is like those are like final frontiers where you go there and you're like, oh, this is like what it's like long ago before it gets developed, before there's resorts, before there's all that. And that's why I like coming here because it's peace and quiet and there's not like big, annoying, loud Disney families and everybody and their mom's trust fund kids aren't here. Just like being ignorant and, you know, causing a ruckus, right? But then they're like, it's so nice. And they see this like this bigger picture dream. And then they build the thing that now brings those type of people and ruins it. And, you know, why I asked you this question is because like I love finding those frontiers, but I saw one recently and even chatted with people about it where it was like a year or two ago. I went to Guatemala to hike the volcano and we went out to this little beach town that, Mikko, I shit you not, this little beach town when you were like approaching on the map was just, it was like if this was the coast, there was one street with like 5 little blocks to the water. That was it. And along each of those blocks, there were like little villas and like hostels for like $9 a night. But then there was this one place because, you know, enough like kind of like tattooed surfer hippies go there and they go, oh, I like the magical vibes here. Like we'll have a nightlife here. And so one of them, probably a trust fund baby, opened up this little like club hotel on the long main street. And, you know, when you're walking around at night, there's like little beach bars owned by the locals. And you're like, what do you do here at night? And they're like, yeah, come here, come here. And you're like, what about that big place? And they're like, don't go to that fucking place. And you're like, well, why? It looks nice. And they're like, that's not a fucking local. Don't go to that place or else they're going to build another one next door. We fucking hate those guys. And they hate all those like rich Americans that opened up the, you know, $1 million state of the art place with the pools and all that built in. Cause they're like, does that look like this? No, it's like, it's the thing from back in your land, only here now on the Guatemala shore.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what happens, you know. I went one like this is a while ago too. Like I went there with Shallow. It's this island like coast of Brazil, and they actually did it like pretty cool. Like it's like mostly European owned, apparently, even back in the days. I don't think it was that expensive, but it's called Morro de São Paulo, and it's like this. It's called by the Salvador, like northern Brazil. Like it's just like Paradise Island, and they don't even allow cars in there. And they had like a very specific rules how you can build the hotels and stuff. Mm-hmm. They had to use all these like materials from there or whatever. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but that was like one of those places. I'm like, well, this they kind of made it, and it was cool. Even back in the days, it was already cool, but it still had that like the feeling that this is this is a cool place. You know, it has the vibe, but like. Just not having cars, not having on those like they made like a very strict rules, so it would like save the the feeling of the island that it had back in the days. I'm sure like the locals are like, well, it didn't used to be, like now it's stupid, but
Yeah.
but I felt like that was a cool place. Actually, that leads to the crazy story. So we're there in the last night, and like I said, my buddy Charlotte didn't really drink. Like that night, we were like, oh, let's get fucking wasted. So we're drinking like all this local booze, whatever, drinking oysters, which were not good idea. So I get this like, again, another food poisoning, and I'm like dying. And like my buddy is like, hey, we gotta go. Like our boat ticket is like leaving. Like we gotta get out of here. I'm like, dude, I can't go. Like I can't like leave the bathroom. Like I'm absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
So we missed the boat. I end up like getting better like the next day, and then we end up taking this like crazy fishing boat to another island that do go like, and this is like a deep Brazilian, like now not a tourist island anymore, like just like you're in a bus with chickens and like a bunch of people like driving like this, you know, and not a boat ride. It's like crazy, like 30-foot seas, like just like everybody's puking, like except like now I have like a best stomach for boats, like I never puke in the boats, but like everybody in this boat is puking. It's going wild, and like I'm like, this is like terrible, like, you know, just a miserable trip back to the coast. So we get to the coast, and there's like fucking like National Guard, helicopters, everything's going crazy. So the original boat we were supposed to be on hit a whale, the catamaran, and it sunk. So it was like in a prime, like full Titanic, like Brazilian news, like videos, like all
Holy
people had to
shit.
jump in the ocean, and like everybody had to go like with their floaters on in the middle of the ocean, and they got picked up. So the only reason I wasn't on that boat because I got the food poisoning. So maybe it was meant to happen.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah, I
Nobody
guess
died.
so.
They found everybody, but it was like legit, like fucking this thing is going down, and like everybody needs to jump into what the floaters on in the water.
Oh
In the
my
middle of the ocean.
God, dude.
In
I
dark.
mean, even if they found everybody, that would be much more traumatizing than just dealing with food
That's what I'm
poisoning
saying,
for
but
a
it was
day.
like meant to happen. The food poisoning was meant to happen, so I wasn't in that boat. Well, I guess.
Yeah. Wild, dude. You have some good luck on your side.
I know. Sometimes.
That is fucking, man, dude. That's that's one of the best ones yet. Fate is funny like that. Do you have any other particular stories in mind where things worked out that they should not have? And it's like when you think back, you're like, I can't believe we fucking got out of that situation, or
I
didn't get
feel like
arrested or survived.
yeah, I feel like there's like most of the trips like back in the days because they were so unplanned.
Yeah.
Like I feel like every time we made it back was like I think that's kind of like it was fun, and it was like it always worked out because it wasn't like you didn't stick with the plan. You were just kind of like floating and like
It's an adventure.
exactly. So but I'm looking back now. I'm like it did like I think that every trip we did was kind of like crazy. Like, you know, like being some like crazy waterfalls and jumping like super high into the things, like middle of the jungle, like there's no help anywhere close, you know, like if something would have gone bad,
You're fucked.
like you're in real trouble, you know.
Yep.
And like that's I'm fortunate and I'm happy that it never happened, you know. I've heard some horror stories. I have people I know that some like really bad shit happened, you know.
Yeah.
And I never had like anything too crazy happen, but yeah, so like I would say like all my travels, I feel like I've been just like lucky that like it's been like something has been there like guiding. It's like, hey, we got into trouble, like, oh, we black out drunk somewhere and like wake up and we're fine, you know, like we end up going this like adventure and do this and this and this and then we're fine, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I just been pretty lucky with my travels. I don't really have too many bad experiences, you know.
That's
Besides
good.
getting like sick and like, you know, stuff like that. That's honestly like my worst experiences are like that. Like I'm just got super sick or something and then you're stuck somewhere.
Yeah, that's the worst. Your stomach doesn't have those like microbiomes or the bacteria ready for it, and you just get typhoid fever or something.
It's just a matter of time that it happens. Whenever you travel, like every time I go to Mexico, I'm like, well, how many days it is before I get a fucking wet butt, you know?
Yep.
It's like that's how it is.
Yeah, so, but it passed in a day, so it's not a big deal.
Exactly. But yeah, overall, it's like I've been extremely lucky and fortunate, and like I said, I do a lot of traveling with my best friends all the time, so I'm really happy to do that. You know, like I traveled like with South America, like I traveled with, you know, Asia with like all the dive guys and like paintball guys overall. Like it's mostly paintball guys. I've done all the traveling, but
yeah,
you know, that's always like that. I think like the biggest thing is like when you travel, you've like I do like traveling alone, but I do traveling with a couple of friends. And then if those people are like awesome, like you're gonna have so much more fun because you have those shared stories with each other.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that question. If you preferred to travel with some friends, if you prefer to travel with the team that you're getting hired for, or if you prefer to just go alone, like spend the extra week backpacking by yourself.
Yeah, I like to travel with friends, but I like to get like I'm not a big like a team hangout guy. Like everybody knows this who play with me. Like I'm like the anti-team meeting and hang out, do the fun stuff with the team. I'm like, dude, like I like don't like that, you know. So like I like my friends, like, and that's it, you know. So it's
Yeah.
like I hate the forced time together that is not like feeling like for me like it's like happening organically, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but like fortunate, like now, especially like when we do the trips of paintball, like it is all friends, you know. So
Hmm.
like, and then you meet new people and new friends that you like, you know. So
Yeah.
that's the cool part.
No, I know what you mean, and I gotta say I prefer traveling completely alone, like staying a
Yeah,
week after, where I don't even tell people sometimes. I
yeah,
don't invite them along because if I'm with my friends, even though I'm not back home, it's almost like I'm gonna act the same as I normally do, and I'm gonna do the same things that we would do. Like, oh, me and so like to whatever, like go to get craft beer together, so we're gonna go do that. But if I'm alone, it's like there's like this weird fucking magic happens that comes from just like,
it is.
well, I'm here, I have to like figure out how to be in this situation and how to live in the moment and what I'm naturally going to be drawn towards, and then like it opens up these weird doors that otherwise wouldn't be open, like
100%.
the person you meet out and about goes, oh well, you want to, here, I'll show you to some cool place, or you're invited to come over to our family's house for dinner,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
maybe it wouldn't happen if you were with a group of four guys.
No, no, 100%. That's like that happens all the time, and that's a cool thing about traveling a lot. Like I said, like I like to do that too. Uh, and I think they also like it makes you grow so much as a person
Yep.
because like you get out of your comfort zone and you have to like hey well here I'm at, you know, like I'm like I feel like I'm like as much as I've been everywhere and like done things like I'm in the end I'm very shy, you know, so I'm like not like easily um opening up. So when you put yourself in those situations you kind of have to like grow and be like
Yep.
oh, fuck this is uncomfortable as fuck, like but like let's make the best out of it and it turns to be an amazing story most likely, you know. So,
Yes. I was going to ask you that if you are naturally more introverted or extroverted.
yeah, I'm like pretty like I said, like sometimes I have to do like a mental check that I'm like, okay, Mikko, be social, you know, go talk to these people and like do that because like I love my time myself, you know.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like that's how it is. But like I said, that's part of like I think as a growing as a person to make those things because then you learn to handle yourself differently under different situations and like enjoy the adventures, you know, like that. So
True.
but yeah, that's a again part of traveling. Like when you go in a different country or different place, whatever, and you don't have that safety network and the normal things, and you have to just like make the best out of it, which is going to be always fun. I feel like
Yep.
you know. That's like it's such a like a huge growing situation as a human being and person, and like it doesn't matter what age you are, how old you are, you know. Uh,
True.
and it's also like I would say like for me like as long as you're smart, very little bad things have happened to me in my travels, you know.
Hmm.
Like so, but you got to be smart. If you're dumb and you go in, you know, like if you see a rough neighborhood and kind of shady group of people, don't go in there, you know. You know,
Yeah.
so it's like avoid those situations. But if you as long as you do that, it's also funny because so many people are so scared that you know something is going to happen and it's dangerous and like I'm not going to name people but like even my age like some of my friends when their families are like are you the travel site says that the Mexico is not safe to travel. I'm like are you fucking kidding me,
I
dude?
get it. Yeah.
Serious, like you can't go because you're like your family thinks that you're gonna get kidnapped. I'm like you don't have enough money to get kidnapped, dude. You're fine, you know.
Yeah. My dad still tells me every time I go play a Mexico event, like, Joey, you're going to get kidnapped and sold back to us for ransom by a cartel.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just
And it's like,
ridiculous.
hey, it could happen, but like, I think you really have to put yourself in that situation, you know?
Yeah.
but generally speaking, like if you go into Puerto Vallarta and stay in a freaking resort, go play paintball tournament, you're not gonna get kidnapped. You're gonna have a good time.
Yeah,
So
100%.
so um, yeah, that's the. But it's funny, like people do think that way, but that's mostly people who don't travel anywhere, and they kind of make their mind that it's not worth of going anywhere. It's not worth of leaving my little comfort zone. I'm happy here, and that's nothing wrong with that. But I would
Yeah.
highly advise against it because it is cool to take out of your on this situation. And like my parents didn't travel a lot when they were young, and like I find like here everywhere, like they come visit, and now with the older age they're like, this is so awesome that like we get to see these things and do all this cool stuff. And
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter how old you are or like what age, and if you traveled or not. you know Again, if you're smart, I think it's pretty safe.
Mhm.
But like I say, like common sense is not always so common. So have common sense and like be street smart.
True, true. Don't make yourself a target. Don't walk around by yourself wearing gaudy jewelry
Yeah,
just don't do things that it's like, well, this could lead to that situation. Just
yeah,
like try to take away all that unneeded extra risk. And then beyond that, like beyond like a chance of, physical danger or whatever, it's nice to get outside of your comfort zone and realize like okay, what is your fear of approaching those people in this other
yeah,
country?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
what's the worst thing that happens? They just aren't chatty.
yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I used to be like more introverted, and traveling helped me a lot with it too, where I'm just like, I remember having one day where it was just like kind of boring, and I'm like, this is on me right now. Like if I'm bored, it's because I'm being boring. So like tomorrow when I wake up, I'm going to just talk to more strangers and like put myself out there. And it turned out to be really fun. Like people are receptive to it as long as you are approaching them positively. And that's the other
Yeah,
thing is like if you're smart, bad things normally don't happen to you. And in social situations, if you're friendly, like if you're obviously, trying to be kind and positive and personable, normally bad things don't happen.
yep. That's how it is. But anyways, hey, I gotta get going here. It was awesome chatting with you. Do you have any other questions or anything?
Um, I had a few quick ones if you don't mind.
Go,
How
go
long?
for it.
How
Go
long do
for it.
you?
I'm just getting bombarded by phone call right now. So
Gotcha. Well, yeah, I know you're a busy guy. I appreciate you staying on this long. So, I guess generic travel questions. Is there anything that you always do when you travel? For example, some people, they go to that country and they always have to scuba dive or they hit the local brewery or whatever. But do you have any traditions?
not really, actually. Like there's like I love food, so I'm usually like do pretty good research on what foods I want to eat when I go somewhere. So I have like a list of stuff in my head. I even do that in the U.S. when I go different cities. Um, so I guess that's the only thing now. It wasn't a thing back in the days. Now it's like I guess getting older. Like
Yeah.
that's the one thing I'm like if I'm going to Japan, like I have like a list. I'm gonna go eat sushi here. I'm gonna do this and here and do that. So it's
Yep.
like that's probably one of the things I like kind of plan now head of, and I necessarily don't know the places, but I know like what I want. So I know
Yep.
when I get something really good. So I guess that's the only thing. I don't really have like other like crazy like plans or like I said, a lot of my travel is like always like semi work with this paintball or
Yeah.
something else or like film or something related. So, or it's like I go like visit, for example, a friend who lives locally there. So like it's kind of like, well, I'm on their schedule a little bit.
Gotcha.
So, but like places like Brazil where I've been a lot of times, like obviously, like if I go to Brazil, I'm gonna go train jiu-jitsu. That's like I'm
Yep.
gonna set up like the trainings and like make sure I'm going to good gyms and stuff. Uh, but like yeah, it's kind of like the location wise, like depends where I'm going, and what I'm going there for.
Yeah. That's
But like,
cool.
let's say like if I'm going summertime in Chile, like I'm gonna go snowboarding, in our summertime there winter. So that's like one of those things. Like I'm just gonna make it happen. If I'm going there for something, I'm gonna do this.
Gotcha. Okay,
So
that's a good answer. The next one I'd have to ask, and this is more like tips for anybody who happens to listen to this. Do you have anything that you always bring with you when you travel? As like, you're probably a travel expert by now.
Mhm.
So do you have a small list of, and of course, I don't mean phone charger, passport. I mean, like, this has always been useful. I have to have this with me.
Well, so no, I have like my little man purse, and it's like the best thing I ever had. So it's like this little. Actually, like I made one for Hormesis last year. People were confused what it is. It is made from my fucking original one, a
Sick.
copy, but it's like this leather package, and I use the Hormesis one right now. It's just it holds all my credit cards I need, holds my passport, holds my like any random cash. I leave it there. Like
Yep.
like it's always in my backpack, so I never have a situation. I'm terrible at losing things. So like I just check the thing is there, and that's where my important shit is. You know,
Gotcha.
I never leave I pretty much don't leave the house without it. If I'm like living anywhere farther, I'm like, okay, I'm taking it. Everything is in there, and that's it.
I
So,
like that.
so
That's
that's the thing.
cool. Is it, does
Uh,
it look like a fanny pack, or do you just,
no,
you have
no,
to put it
no.
in a bag?
It's like a little leather case. Like it's got like opens up, folds up with the zipper, and it's
Gotcha.
like like it's like an old people thing, you know.
Yeah.
So but like I had it forever, and that's like my ultimate thing, because also like when I'm like, let's say like we partied a little bit too much, you hang over in the morning, like you didn't sleep at all night before, and you're leaving in the airport, and you're just like, okay, it's there, and that's easy to
Yeah.
go. So,
Nice. Any travel hacks?
well,
Like
no,
things.
one more thing,
Oh yeah.
I've done extremely good job, uh, and I highly recommend everybody. It's a pain in the ass for some people to do it. Now it's pretty easy, but I always traveled with the camera. So like even like 25 years ago, like when I first was 15 and going to London, like I had a camera with me. So like I always had a camera, like whatever it was. And I'm like kind of like I always make sure I take like good pictures on the trips of my friends, the places, whatever it is. And like now, like looking now being older and looking back those pictures from 20 years ago in some place, like you literally relive the trip again, because
Yeah.
you actually don't remember it anymore, you know.
Yeah.
Like those things that they just disappear, and then when you take that those go through those photos, like I do every once in a while, I'm like, oh fucking let me see like what I find here, because there's some fucking wild shit in there too, from like all the people I know. So it's like uh you just kind of like relive the moments and the trip with those photos. So I highly recommend doing that, even it is like annoying. Like I don't, and I'm not like crazy. Like I'm not taking if something cool is happening, I'm like, oh, I'm not like a Japanese tourist, but
Yeah.
like I do take photos,
Yeah.
and I think that's like a huge like memory bank and a cool thing from like all the past travels that you can kind of like relive the trip.
I like that. And to clarify, you mean like an actual camera, like not your iPhone
Well,
camera.
so like back in the days, it was like real camera. Then I had like the little digital cameras. Like I carry like a nice camera with me because I like taking photos. That's like my thing, my hobby.
Yeah.
So like I carry like a nice camera if I'm knowing I'm going to somewhere nice. But like even taking with your iPhone, fuck it, just don't like lose those photos. Like keep them somewhere, because that's like like I guess my parents were like, my mom always had the photo albums. So
Mm-hmm.
like kind of like it's the same idea. Like, and you don't have to have a ton of photos, but as long as you have them, like that's a great way to go and look back, on the
I
deal.
like that. Do you have any travel hacks, tips of like the actual travel, like whether it's the flying or when you get somewhere, good way to get, I don't know, cheap stays or anything that you always
Uh,
do?
no, I'm terrible with that. But well, I would say thing like stick with the one airline, because it does help you. So like
Points and stuff.
it doesn't matter what it is, but like it is like I always like I flew with the like I guess what is it, the One World basically all my
Mm-hmm.
life. And it's like it's great because now like eventually like they do like if you fly a lot, it does make a difference. You
Yeah.
get the upgrades, you get like like I'm like lifetime some like platinum member whatever, so like I get the bags free and all that stuff. So it's like, and you get to cut the lines and do all that stuff. So that's the one thing I would say people like, like yeah, you might save a little bit of money sometimes, but like nowadays I'm like I'm just sticking with the one airline. I'm
I
not
agree. 100%. Plus, you get lounge access, which really saves you on long
yeah,
layovers. So that's
exactly.
nice. So, last question for you. The one I always enjoy the most, while we travel, we get to like actually see the world and learn a lot. about the external stuff around us. But every time I travel, I always find that I learn quite a bit more new stuff about myself. And so, have you found that when you traveled, you've learned, new particular things about yourself?
100%. I think like I'm like who I am today. It's the result of the travel. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like I think the fact that we're talking right now is because of travel. So like
Yeah.
I think you learn it all the time, and like obviously paintball is a big reason for that. But then like that not like doing it and actually leaving your house and going to different places, like it just like opens up doors, and you learn ton of things about yourself. Like if you're like honest to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
like I say, like I'm like from nature, I'm pretty not social person, and I've learned to be much more social because traveling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also like I understand that about myself, and then like you can kind of like uh, I guess you can like um, learn about your weaknesses and kind of like becoming a better person and more understanding towards the others, and I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest thing with traveling.
100%. It really takes the veil off and shows you who you are outside of your own neighborhood or what you grew up in. And yeah, very wise of you to say that. And I fully agree. Um,
And for your problem solvings too, like when you travel, you can everything doesn't go always perfect, so
mhm.
and it gives you confidence, and it helps you really, and I think in your problem solving skills and kind of like just figuring things out.
Yes. Yeah. It gives you a whole new level of mental fortitude and resolve and the ability to be, like MacGyverish and get through things in a new way. So I agree. Um, Anything you want to shout out before you leave?
Oh, damn, that's it. Thank you for having me on your show, dude.
Thank you very much. I'll give you a shout out, Mikko. You're the fucking man, and I appreciate all the projects you're doing within paintball now. You're crushing it. I look forward to the full length film, and yeah, dude, it's been very cool to get to know you, and I'm sure I'll see you again soon in Mexico or some other cool place.
For sure, for sure. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Later.
See you guys.